everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy and I'm so happy you're here. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome, and I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. If you like these projects, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think, and now, without further ado, let's get started. For our first Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to be using 4 of the long love signs and then 4 of the wooden word cutouts and then some hair spirals that you'll find with the hairbrushes and clips and things like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off these cute little wooden hearts with my Cricut spatula, and there's quite a bit of glue under there, so you do have to be careful, and I did end up slicing my finger, but you also want to take off, if it's possible, the paper on the back. I'm going to be using the backs of the signs for the fronts of my project, but I did want to have a cleaner backside, so I went ahead and took off what paper I possibly could. And then I took my jute twine hangers and I'm going to pull those out, and then using some needle nose pliers, I'm going to get the staples out, and then I'm going to take a sanding sponge to kind of sand that down so that you can't see the holes that they left behind. So now I'm going to paint my boards, and I'm starting at the bottom using my Waverly chalk paint in Ballet Slipper, and I added a little bit of the crimson to make it a little bit darker than the regular Ballet Slipper by itself. And so then on the next one up, I'm just going to use Ballet Slipper all by itself and make that nice and pink. And then on the third one, I'm going to use a little bit of white added to the Ballet Slipper. And then on the very top one, I'm going to use mostly white and add just a little bit of the Ballet Slipper. So it's going to have an ombre effect, and it's going to start at the bottom being very dark and then go up and gradually get lighter. And I made sure to kind of leave some brown edges so that you can see that it's a little bit distressed. And I didn't even go back and sand it because the brown from that wood shows through, and I think it's so pretty. Then I'm going to take my wooden words and I'm going to take the jute twine off of those as well, but they have really small staples in the back, so I just hammered those in. So now I'm going to use my Krylon flat white spray paint plus primer, and I get this from Lowe's for $3.98, and I'm just going to paint all of my words, and I'm doing 2.5-ish coats, and I say half, and that just means the final coat is more like just touch-ups where I might have missed some areas. Now I got all 4 of these wooden words from the Dollar Tree, but the ones that say love, XOXO, and the home with the little heart at the end, those are all from the Valentine's Day decor. And then the family is a little bit different, and I think I got that one in the fall time. But they also had one that said happy that was in the Valentine's Day decor that had the same finish as the others, but it was a little too thick, so I substituted it with the family. So now I'm going to take those little spirals and I'm going to pull them out, and they're pretty heavy duty springs, so I just have to give it a little bit of muscle to get those spread apart and make them the same size. And now I'm going to turn my boards over, and then on the back I'm going to measure in 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape and just put that over the end loop, and then I'll put a nail inside there and hammer it in kind of to give it a pilot hole so that I can then put my tack in and it'll go right in. And then I use my hammer to get it all the way down. Unfortunately, I didn't realize my tacks were a little bit longer than the boards themselves, so I'm going to have to go back in and fix that once I get everything put together. So once I get all of my pieces attached, I'm going to take my hot glue gun and give it some more support by going over the tack and the spring loop, and then I'll take a little piece of felt and cover that all up so that it doesn't scratch up my wall once I have it against it. So now to cover up the tacks where they came through the front of the sign, I'm going to use these little styrofoam picks from Dollar Tree, and I didn't really like the brightness of the pink, and so I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in white and cover those all up, and I'll leave it on the picks until I'm done painting, and then for it to dry I'm just going to stick it into a scrap piece of styrofoam. Then I'm going to pull them off of the picks once they've dried, and I'll put a little bit of hot glue on the back and then push it into those tacks that are coming from the back. And then to attach my words, I'm going to use quite a bit of E6000 and then some hot glue, and the E6000 will keep it in place permanently and with a super strong hold, whereas the hot glue will work immediately so that it stays in place while the E6000 dries. So once my sign is all put together, it is pretty stinking heavy, so I decided to use this plant hanger chain to hold it instead of just jute twine. It has 3 pieces of chain, so I'm only going to need 2. So using my needle nose pliers, I'm going to open up the S-hook at the top and pull off one of those strands and then close that S-hook back up. Then I'm going to have Michael J paint this white so that it matched our sign. And so he just took it outside and hung it from our tree, and then using that same white spray paint, he's going to paint the whole chain, and he gave this 2 coats. Of course I could have done this myself, but I couldn't reach the twig, but he's 6'4", I'm 4'11 3/4", so this was a lot easier for him. So then he's going to drill 2 holes into the top part of my sign. Again, I could have done that, but he just happened to have the drill, so he's going to do it for me. And then I'm going to take the clips of my plant hanger and just pop those inside, and it's ready to go. And here it is all finished, and I love this so much. I love the pinks and the softness of everything all put together. I think anything that has that ombre effect is just so pretty, and I have it here with some other DIYs that I did, and I'll have all of those videos linked in the description box below. But I love a pink Valentine's Day, and for a total of $11 using all Dollar Tree items, I don't think you can tell this is a Dollar Tree DIY. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you like it too. Okay, so now it's shout out time for our very first patrons of the White Sparrow Living Patreon account. So a huge thank you to Jenny, Wendy, Tammy, Erica, Jeannie, Debbie, Denise, Yasmin, Marjorie, Jody, and Kathy. And I will tell you that Marjorie is my mommy, but we were just testing out the site, so that's why she's in there. But I do want to thank my brother and sister-in-law, Jamie and Brandy, for setting this up for us. And to all of you who are helping to support this channel, my heart is just so full, and I can't thank you nearly enough. Now, if you'd like to become a member, there's a link in the description box below, and you can see the details of what each nest offers, or you can just go to patreon.com and search for White Sparrow Living. For our next DIY, this is not a Valentine's Day DIY, but it really is packed with a whole lot of love. So we're starting out with this cube shelf that you can get from Target or online. And then we're taking some 1x2s and mitering the edges because we're going to be making a dollhouse out of this. So I had Michael J cut down the sides so that they would meet in the middle to make a roof. So I don't even know what the degree of angle it is. It was just kind of eyeballed, and then we put it into place. Michael J added some heavy duty construction adhesive, and then he's going to take the brad nailer and nail those into the top of the shelf, and then where it meets at the little point, he's going to nail into those as well. And before we started with the roof, you can see we added some Dollar Tree wood grain contact paper. Those are going to be the floors of each of our rooms. Now to give our roof a little more security, he's going to take another 1x2 and stick that in between the two beams that are making the pitch of the roof, and then placing one at the very top, again putting adhesive inside all of those areas where they connect, and then adding some more nails. Now we're going to take a piece of hardboard and we're going to cut that down so we'll have two sides to our roof that we will place on those beams. All of this lumber came from Lowe's, and Michael J picked this up for $8.98 for a 4x8 sheet of the hardwood, and then the 1x2s come in 8-foot lengths, and those were $3.01 each, and we ended up using 1 and about a half. I don't know why they put 1 penny at the end of that $3. So now we're going to take some sandpaper and sand down all of that wood and get rid of the rough edges. And then my daughter Christine is painting it with the Waverly White chalk paint. And then for the back, we're going to cut it down to the shape, including the roof, so that that will be the back panel of the entire piece. So this was a Christmas present for our granddaughter Cadence, and it was kind of all hands on deck for this one because everybody had to be involved to get this done. And keeping this a secret from her and not letting her see it was not very easy, but I cannot wait for you guys to see her reaction at the end when we get it all done. So once the backboard was on, we took that same adhesive and we're going to place the two parts of the roof onto those beams. And I want to make the back flush so that it goes against the wall, and then there'll be a little overhang at the front like a house does. And so here it is all finished, and then Michael J's going to add some extra brads to keep it in place. So now comes the fun part, and we're going to decorate this house. And so we're using a couple of pieces of scrapbooking paper from Hobby Lobby for the bedroom and the kitchen. And then I'm using some leftover self-adhesive wallpaper that we used on a decorating job a couple of months ago. So we're going to use that for the loft bedroom, and then half of the wall in the living room. And then the bottom half of the wall we're going to paint black using our Waverly chalk paint and ink. And then in the bathroom, we used some black and white contact paper that I think I got at Walmart. So then we gathered up some random pieces of Barbie furniture and accessories that I've had for a long time. Some of these belong to Christine actually, but instead of having the Barbie pink, we're just spray painting them white so that it has a more modern feel, because we're trying to make this a modern farmhouse slash boho type style with a more neutral color palette. So once we got the base coat down, we're going to go back in with some Waverly chalk paint in white to give it that nice bright finish and make it look more chalky and less plasticky. Then she painted a couple of these vases with the white and then took them outside and rubbed dirt on them, and they look so cute and modern farmhouse adorable. So now we're going to take some craft sticks from the Dollar Tree, some black paint, and some half wooden beads from Amazon, and we're going to be making a ceiling fan, actually 2 of them. So she first cut the craft sticks in half and then painted everything black, and this project got so messy, I have to tell you, but it was so worth it. But we were working on so many little items, and so we just went with it and just had fun in the mess. So once she got everything painted black, then she's going to take some hot glue and attach those to the half wood bead, and then we have a ceiling fan. Now to make the bathroom vanity, we're using a sign that she got from the Target dollar spot for $1, and we're just going to paint that black and add some flat little skinny sticks to it to make the cabinets and drawers. So now from Dollar Tree, in the kids section, they have little dollhouse pieces, and so we're going to use a little entryway table and paint that black. And then we used a little round disc and took the stopper out of one of the Dollar Tree glass bottles and used that to make a cake stand or pedestal. And the bottle we'll be using for a little plant vase. So now it was my turn to take over, and I wanted to show you how my daughter Christine left the workspace for me to take over, and it was a complete mess, but like I said, we just embraced it and had fun with it, and this is actually not even the worst of it. It was 10 times worse by the time we got done. So now I'm going to take some of this ticking fabric and I'm going to cut a strip about 2 inches wide, and then I'm going to start pleating it at the bottom of the bed. And to do that, I'm just going to hot glue that to the back side of the bed and then just start making pleats by putting a dot of glue down and then folding it back over on itself, and then I'll add another dot of glue and then fold it back over again, and then just keep doing that until you get some really pretty pleats. And so how many ways can we use the microfiber dust mop from Dollar Tree? This is another way we can use it, and it was the perfect size of the bed, and so it just looks like a furry comforter. And so I'm just going to hot glue that right to the top of the bed. So now for the headboard, I'm going to take one of these Dollar Tree pallets that you can find in the Crafter Square and cover that with some felt from Crafter Square also, and then that'll give it a little bit of cushion. And then I took some black fabric and I'm going to wrap that around using some hot glue and get that all nicely upholstered. Now we're going to give our headboard some tufting, and so I just took a needle and some black thread and just fed it through those slats, or would those be slits? Anyway, I'm just going to feed it through there and pull it tight and then make a knot in the back so that it stays in place. And then to attach my headboard, I'm going to take 2 craft sticks and glue that to the back side of the bed, and then my headboard will slip right in there and lean against the 2 craft sticks. Now I'm going to make some pillows, and I'm just taking a strip of that same coordinating fabric and I'm going to fold it in half and hot glue 2 sides of it, the 2 long sides, leaving the end open, and then I'll turn it inside out and then stuff it with some batting, and then I'll close it up at the end with some hot glue. So now I'm going to make a little bolster pillow, and I'm just using the handle from a plunger, and this was a scrap piece. I don't even remember what I made, but I'm going to hot glue some of that black fabric to it and just roll it up and then cut it off at the ends so that there's a little bit left over on both sides. And then I'm going to take some baker's twine that I got from the Dollar Tree also, and I'm going to tie those at the end. It kept wanting to pop off, so I needed 3 hands. So Michael J happened to be walking by, and he was able to help me out. And so I'm just going to tie that into a sweet little bow on both sides, and then that's our bolster. So now I'm going to take a wooden medallion from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it black and then sand the edges. And then I'm going to take my white paint pen and write Faith on there. And then I'm going to use some of this Walmart greenery and take some of the smaller pieces off of there, cut that down, and make this into an adorable little wreath with the greenery at the bottom. And then I'll take some more of that ticking fabric and cut a small little piece to make it look like a ribbon. And then I'll make that into another sweet little bow and place that right in the middle. So now I'm going to make over this little dollhouse bed that my sister and I had when we had a dollhouse that my grandpa had made for us. So this would be, oh my goodness, 40 years old. So I'm just going to give it some new life, and I'm painting the fabric with my Waverly chalk paint because I wanted to keep the pleats and the original design of it. So I'm just going to use some gingham fabric and cover the top part, and then I'll attach it to the bottom part of the bed using my hot glue. And then for the headboard, I'm going to be using a tabletop that came off of a table that my grandpa had made for our dollhouse. And I'm just going to paint that black and attach it the same way I did on the other bed using some craft sticks. When I was working on this bed, it brought back so many childhood memories, and my grandma and grandpa did so much for us all the time. And you can see this table was originally pink, and he had painted everything pink or teal. Those were his signature colors for us. And my grandma was the one that upholstered all of the items, but they made small little miniature pictures using magazine cutouts, and oh my gosh, it was just so adorable, and it was the best dollhouse ever. And you'll also see a little lamp that he made at the end when we show you the reveal. So now I'm taking 4 of the Amazon wooden beads, and I'm just hot gluing those to the bottom of the bed to make those the legs. So now I'm going to take a utility towel from Dollar Tree, and those are in the automotive section, and I'm going to make a little blanket for the foot of the bed. And so I'll just cut a strip, and then to make the hem, I'm just going to hot glue all the way around so that it's nice and finished. Now I'm going to take a scrap piece of this buffalo check drawing pad and I'm going to cut it down and fold it into a little pad so that it's like a mattress. This is going to be a doggy bed, and so the bottom I'm using is from an old Dollar Tree candle. This is the base and it's got little legs at the bottom, and you'll see that in a minute. But I'm just going to hot glue this down into the right size, and then I'll hot glue it into the base of that candle holder. So now I'm going to make a fireplace, and I'm using a scrap piece of, I guess this is crown molding, or I don't even know. We don't have this in our house, so I don't know where we got it or why it was in our scrap wood, but it was perfect. And I had Brandon cut out a little square from the middle, and I'm going to paint that black, and then using my Gorilla Glue adhesive and some hot glue, I'm going to take one piece of that palette and attach that to the top part for the mantle. And I'm going to leave that the natural raw wood because I think it looks so stinking cute. So then I went outside and found some twigs, and I'm going to cut this down and make those into logs, and I'll glue them together to make a little log pile. So now for some artwork over the mantle, we're going to be taking this picture that my daughter Christine drew with some colored pencils, and then using a canvas from the Dollar Tree, we took the canvas part off, painted the frame black, and then we're going to place him inside. And I know she's my daughter, so I'm a little bit biased, but I just think this is a work of art. And you can see his hand with the nail hole in it. Ugh, this just gets my heart. So now I'm going to take some more of that black fabric and make some throw pillows for the couch, and I'm going to use some lace from the Dollar Tree to attach to the edges just to give it a little cuteness. So now I'm going to take another Dollar Tree canvas, and this is 4x4, and it's going into the bathroom, and because the wallpaper is pretty busy, we needed something light for the picture on there. So I'm just taking my Pigma Micron super fine tip felt pen, and I'm writing, "I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am." And this is the bridge, or part of it, from the lyrics from a song by Hillsong Worship, and I'm going to have that song linked in the description box below. So now I'm going to take some more of that utility towel that we used earlier for our blanket, and I'm just going to cut a strip down and then start folding that over and kind of go back and forth, and I'll have the finished edges on one side, and those are our folds of our little stack of towels. Now I'm going to take this little picture that we painted earlier, and I'm going to take some baby's breath and hot glue that in there to make it look like a little farmhouse flower arrangement. Then I'm going to take some black felt that I got from Dollar Tree and cut that down into strips. And then I'm going to roll up a little bit and add some hot glue so that it looks like a little towel roll. And then using the striped ribbon from the Dollar Tree, that's the 5/8 inch, I'm going to take some and glue that right around the top so that it looks like the trim of a towel. And then I'm going to make 3 of those and I'll stick it in the little Barbie basket for the bathroom. And since you can never have too many towels in a bathroom, I'm just taking more of that utility towel and rolling up, making little miniature towel rolls to stack on top of each other. So Walmart carries these grass stems for $2 each, and I'm taking the little wannabe pampas grass and kind of fluffing it up and putting it into one of those Dollar Tree glass vases, and that's going to go in the bedroom. Now I'm going to take 3 of these chalkboard wood stakes, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm making a mini version of a DIY that I did in a previous video, and I'll have that linked in the description box below as well. And one's going to say be still, the next one's going to say and know, and then the third one is going to say that I am God, and then it'll say Psalms 46:10 at the very bottom. And just so you know, even though my G is lowercase, I made it larger so that it's considered a capital G. And then I'm going to take some jute twine and make teeny tiny little holders, which my original project didn't have that, but I thought this was so cute for the bedroom part of our dollhouse. So now we're going to start loading our rooms, and we're starting with the living room, and you can see the paint job that we did at the bottom of the far wall. I made a wreath using some Walmart boxwood on top of a Dollar Tree napkin ring, and then some more of that striped ribbon to hang it. And then Christine made a mirror using a compact from Dollar Tree and then a little round piece of wood. And then the hanging lamp in the corner is one of the bells from the bottom of a Dollar Tree windmill. And then the little fiddle fig tree is just some more of that boxwood glued to a twig and then stuck in the vase of those succulents from the Dollar Tree. And then I have a pencil holder that we turned upside down to use as the coffee table. And then we have our cake plate with a little plant on it, which used to be bright pink and green, so I just painted that with white chalk paint and celery for the leaves. And then we've got our side table, and I had some wood pieces, so there's some little books, and then we placed our vase up there. And then of course we have our ceiling fan. And I forgot to mention that she took a tack and stuck it right in the middle to cover up the ends of the blades. So now we're going to take some tumbling blocks, and this was actually from a pack that she had, but you can use the Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree to make some floating shelves. And we had to use Michael J's handy dandy construction adhesive again because these are kind of shiny and slick, so regular glue wasn't sticking. And then we're going to take our miniature little toilet and make that a floating toilet, make it more modern since it's so small. And then we're going to take the little Dollar Tree glass bottles, make those into apothecary jars by filling it with little snow pieces to look like bath bombs, and then the smaller snow pieces for, I don't know, something else. And then some Epsom salt, and then we're going to put our little flower arrangement and our towels on the top shelf. And then here's the front of that vanity and how cute it looks with all those pieces attached. And then we've got a sink that she had from a Barbie set, and then this bathtub set she bought specifically for this project because it was really modern looking and worked perfectly in here. And then we just set out some plants here and there, and then the mirror above the sink she had from another compact, and then just used those skinny sticks to make a frame. And then she made a rug out of a placemat and placed tassels on both ends. And then the little leather towel hanger was from a set of cookie cutters that I had. And then to finish it off, she hung the second ceiling fan. So then in the first bedroom, we hung our little faith sign and then printed out a picture of Mary and Jesus in miniature and hung that above the little side table. And then she made this light fixture using an extra part from a Dollar Tree snowflake candle holder. I don't even know how to explain that. And then you can see the little lamp that my grandpa had made 40 years ago. And then we got this wicker chair from one of my friends, and you'll see the rest of that set in the kitchen. And I used to have one of these. I used to have this whole set when I was a kid and used to love playing Barbies with it. And so we put our pampas grass over in the corner and then filled another one of those little succulent containers with some miniature pine cones, added our pillows and our bed, and it was done. And in the kitchen, we did some more of the floating shelves, another one of those bells for the light fixture, and then we printed off a scene from the computer for the window, and then added our other wicker pieces, hung a towel over the oven handle, and then for a picture on the other side, we used the Dollar Tree calendar, the little small pictures, and put some sticks around that to make a frame, and used little cork stoppers for hooks, and then hung a little spatula on there. It's so cute. And then for the backsplash and the back of the shelves, she just took some gingham paper and attached it using some glue. And then finally, in the little girl's loft bedroom, I had Michael J. screw in a piece of Dollar Tree plunger handle, and that's going to hold some tulle that we draped over it and added some lights. And then I have a placemat from the Target Dollar Spot and a little piece of lace to act as the rug. And then I made a coaster using some Dollar Tree rope. So I lost my coaster, but now it's a little rug for in here. And then I made a couple more pillows for this bed. And then that little hanging plant in the corner, Christine made out of a piece of white nautical rope. And she just unwound the strands about a third of the way down and then took a piece of electrical tape to gather it just under where the pot is, and then frayed the edges so that it looks like a hanging piece. And then she took a bottle cap and stuck it inside of the opening and then added some greenery. And then we have our little doggy bed and some Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree, another little sign that says "So loved," so that she'll know that she is so loved. Shut the door. You're good.
It's in the box right there. It's a Wendy's blanket, 15 pounds.
It's a bowling ball.
What's that?
Pull it off.
Wow.
So Cadence was super excited, as you can see, and Carson got a scooter for Christmas. But what I forgot to tell you is that this shelf used to be in Carson's room. And so Christine took it out of his room, but didn't tell him why. And it's so funny because as Christine is showing Cadence all of the nooks and crannies and all of the fun stuff, Carson realizes that this shelf looks really familiar.
Wait.
I think we forgot we had another one.
Ever.
Yay!
This kind of looks like my shelf.
I know, isn't that cute?
And then this kind of looks like my shelf. Is that like?
That is actually what happened to your shelf.
And then
We made it out of
bath salt, I think.
Yeah?
Kids, they made it out of my shelf. This is my shelf. And what is this?
Those are bath bombs.
Ooh. This is the coolest ever. This is the best present I've ever had.
Aww.
You never have a present this big. But it's not all about presents. It's about Jesus when he's born. Is that
Yes.
Kate's present? Is that Kate's
Can I just tell you, it doesn't get any better than that. For our final Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to be using a tomato trellis and a plastic flower pot, and then one little birdie. And originally I was going to double up on this project, but it ended up taking way more flowers than I thought. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off the smallest ring using my wire cutters, and then I'm going to push down the second ring, and then I'm going to gather all of my vertical pieces and attach those using a rubber band. And then I'm going to take some Dollar Tree wire and I'll feed that through the little brackets where that smaller ring was, and then just wrap it around at the end to attach it. And then I'll do that about 3 more times to keep a circular shape, and that'll give me something to attach my flowers to. In hindsight, I probably would have added some more vertical pieces of wire so that there was more of a grid so my flowers would stay nice and secure. So if you do this, just keep that in mind, and that'll probably help with the stability. So once I got all of my rings in place, I'm going to use some nylon tie straps to keep the legs in the same position by wrapping it diagonally so that they don't move at all. And this worked out perfectly because this fits directly into my plastic pot because there's a ring right around the top, and so it's just going to sit on there, and I didn't even have to glue it. So now I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and paint my pots completely white, and then it'll be time to add our flowers. So I'm going to be doing an ombre effect again. So I'm starting with the darker pinks towards the bottom and then gradually going lighter and lighter until I end up with some white roses at the top. So I'm going to attach these using my hot glue, but I'm going to attach it also to the flower next to it. So basically you're making a ring of pretty goodness all the way around each level. And then I'm going to put it into my pot before I move on to the next tiers, just so that it was a little bit higher and I could work a little easier. So I actually remembered this time to keep track of the number of stems that I used. So if you want to do this project, I ended up using 5 stems of hydrangeas in the darker pink, and then 5 stems of dahlias in a medium pink, and then 6 stems of peonies, 7 stems of roses. So it's a total of 23 stems altogether. And then if you add the bird that I'm going to add at the top, and then the pot, the trellis, and the wire, it comes out to a $27 project. But I looked online, and first of all, I couldn't find anything that looked like this, but anything this height, which is 33 inches, you're really looking at about a $60 piece. So even though this is a little more on the expensive end to make, it is saving a lot of money considering what you would pay in a retail store. And here it is all done, and I love this so much. It makes my eyes so happy. I was really liking just looking at the screen as I'm editing here, but I just added a little birdie and then 2 of those foam hearts on the sticks and just stuck it in through the top. And it didn't take very long for me to explain how to do it, but it was pretty time consuming putting all of those flowers together. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. I hope you enjoyed all of these projects, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you haven't already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. You can also find us on Facebook at White Sparrow Living, and also our group page, the Dollar Tree Sparrow's Nest, where you can post pictures of your beautiful creations and check out everyone else's as well. We're also on Instagram under White Sparrow Living, and now Patreon. So we're really spreading our wings and getting out there. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye!